Everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Alex.
Hey, I'm Nick.
And we're the car buying guys. What was that? I'm keeping it in. We're just rolling through this now. We're just rolling through this. All right, so my name is Alex. Like I mentioned, former car salesman. Been in the industry for about 5 years. And Nick, you want to introduce yourself and give people the lay down of your experience?
Yeah, so I sold cars for 11 years, both in larger dealerships and in more of like the wholesale space. So I got to experience both sides.
Nice. Yeah, for me, it was just on the side of the actual sales side. But when you're someone that's in the industry, and a lot of guys that are watching this that are currently in the car industry themselves and sales specifically, and I think me and Nick are on the same wavelength when it comes to not every car buying decision is a smart one.
No, no. In fact, I'd argue that most of them aren't. Alex, in your time, percentage wise, how many of the cars that you sold do you think were good decisions for the buyer?
Honestly, I'd say maybe a quarter of them, about 25%, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I'd say about the same, which is a sad state of affairs. But you really can't blame the consumer. Y- y- the amount of research that you have to do in order to understand things is quite substantial. So there's quite a investment of time that's needed to make the right decision. But given that it is the second largest purchase that the average consumer is going to make, it makes sense to invest that time. What we're going to try and do with this channel, and the whole premise behind this channel, isn't for us to be talking the entire time. The idea is that we'd have individuals that are considering buying cars, kind of looking around. They know they want something. What we're trying to discuss with people is basically whether or not that decision is a sound one, whether that be financially, whether it fits their lifestyle, and et cetera, et cetera. So that way, you go into the dealership confident, and you pretty much know, hey, this is approximately what I should be paying. This is approximately what the rates are. Um, why dealership's going to pitch warranties, uh, appearance protections, tire and wheel protections, key protections. What does all of that mean?
Exactly,
We're
and
gonna we're gonna try and make that.
exactly, and that's one thing that I think people. I want to be very clear. I think me and you are both on the same page of this. We're not trying to be, oh, we used to be car salesmen and screw the car salespeople nowadays. That's not what we're doing here. There's a lot of really good car salesmen out there. I've met some guys that are genuinely very good at like really taking care of their customers. And it's because, especially with like, your TikToks, your reels nowadays, there's so much more, I guess, awareness of exactly what car buying can entail and like good customer service. But at the end of the day, I think me and you can both agree it's still a job that we literally, our job is to sell the car that the consumer wants to buy in the actual store that we have if we can. If not, we don't get to feed our families. We don't put money in our pockets. And obviously
Exactly.
sometimes that means we're selling a car where even though internally we know maybe I wouldn't pay that for the car, or I would probably want to be more, reserved with my monthly budgets. But at the end of the day, that's not what people are thinking when they go into the car purchase. Some people are, but I know a lot of people that are just more all on feeling, but not really on fact. How many times do you see that?
Many times, many times, especially people that were purchasing sports cars. That would probably That's why you see sports cars that are 3 years old with 10 owners. Every single one of those 10 owners, let's just be honest, most likely made a bad financial decision, or a bad lifestyle decision.
I agree, and that's where I think me and you kind of both, after having enough conversations, whether we were both still actively car salesmen or even after the fact, still, I mean, I know I've gotten a couple calls. I know you've definitely gotten calls where people are still asking you, hey, what should I buy? What kind of car should I get? I'm literally trying to help people that they know I'm not in the industry anymore. And I'm just like, okay, if I was in the sales chair right now and they were talking to me, I know whatever car they would want, I'd be like, okay, cool. Let's find you one that's low miles, that's not, really beat up. But that would be the extent of it. I wouldn't really think I would give in my unsolicited 2 cents of financially, are you sure you should be buying a car?
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that we agree on is that not everyone should buy the car. How many times have you gotten a Toyota trade in and you're like, this is a great car?
Yeah. All the time. All the time. Especially because the latter half of my career, I worked at Subaru specifically, um, and a lot of Toyota customers, a lot of Honda customers, great brands, obviously, a lot of Mazda customers. Usually, people that stick to the Japanese brands will stick to Japanese brands, um, but you know, cars with 80,000 miles, 90,000 miles, perfect service history, one owner, car's immaculate. Um, and they were making the decision to get rid of it when at that point the car was paid off. And let's just be honest, a Toyota with 80,000 miles that's been well maintained most likely is going to be fine for
A
a,
hundred
a,
percent,
a
100%.
substantial.
That's the one thing that I always would look at people of just being like, what are you doing? Again, I'm gonna sell the car that they want because they came in for that reason, and I'll do my best to at least guide them in the right way and be honest. But I mean, going up in payments, interest rates, not really knowing, like I think that me and you, with the idea of this channel, is to make sure that our people that watch this in our audience, those that we, like you mentioned earlier, we want this to be more of like an actual conversation with folks that
Yep.
you're interested in a car. Let's look at everything. Because I know that was one thing you always showed me. You've always been way more financially savvy than I was, but just seeing the level of savviness in your decision making is something I would think that like normal people would have. But honestly, as someone that has made bad decisions,
Here's
never would have thought.
here's the catch 22, and here's what we're going to talk about today. You and I have made some stupid decisions when it comes to cars.
I'm still living it. I'm still living
Stupid
it.
decisions. Both of us technically are still living through those decisions, and the amount of money, time, it's just it's not worth it. So while we do have this knowledge, we still have made stupid decisions in the past. And Alex, if you want to share um, your car situation, starting with the Tahoe Jaiba 88. Hi,
Little,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
So
for me, first car I ever had was technically the family. It was a family vehicle. It was the '04 Chevy Tahoe. My family bought it brand new in '04. I acquired the keys. You want to call it that? Like it was officially mine. Probably 2018. Like it was actually mine. I was done with college, or actually I was still kind of finishing up college, and I was going down south. They gave me the keys. The thing had 110,000 miles when I got it when it became my car. This vehicle had not a single issue when it came to the engine, the transmission. Obviously, it's an '04, and we were talking about 2018, 2019. So, yes, there's going to be some cosmetic rust here and there, but that's just because paint was different from what it is now.
and Nick broke the
Besides
center
that,
console.
oh, yeah, you broke the center console, but that's for a different episode. Um, Besides that, there was nothing wrong with this car. I remember I was always like, oh, I just want a new car. I want a new truck. I was just getting so like, I'm tired of this car. I literally grew up in this car. Now, I almost bought like a brand new 2018, 2019 Chevy Colorado. It would have been like 600 bucks a month. And I was like, oh, I landscape, I make like 1800 a week. Like, we're good. And, or a week, that's crazy. No, more like every 2 weeks. And I thought that was totally fine because I had no bills, right? I ended up not making that decision, which was good. I ended up keeping the car going to Texas. The only reason why that car, like, I lost it, is no longer in my possession was solely for the fact that someone, when I was in Texas, tried to break into it and couldn't steal it. Ended up getting totaled out. After that, I had to get a quick car. Never bought a car before. I just knew, okay, reliable brands that I can get within, I can go over the weekend and be very just like, I don't have time to go over to dealership to dealership to dealership to dealership. I literally have to get a car this weekend. And I went to a Honda dealership just because I knew from general knowledge and just very quick research. This is before AI and Gemini. So you literally had to know what you were searching. It was a Honda. I really got a Honda Fit. It was a safety cone orange Honda Fit. It was a 2017 with 20,000 miles for like 20K. And
Good.
my mom was like, just buy a brand new one. Buy a brand new one. You'll be better on the interest rates. And I told her, like, yeah, but this one's $6,000 cheaper. Interest rates are not. I was a first time buyer. So I was just like, I didn't care. I was going to get 8-9% regardless. So I was like, okay, let me buy the cheaper car. Fast forward a little bit. I made a bad financial decision of getting a Tesla Model 3 when they were all going for sticker at like 55, 60K because I thought it'd be a smart idea to rent it out so I could have, a no car payment, but a nice car. And then good old Elon decided to drop the price. And that's where my good old, I guess, first lesson in car buying came into fruition of negative equity. I was like, within a day from $3,000 flip, which is just like your taxes and stuff like that, to like $9,000 flipped immediately. And when I say flipped, I mean, me and you both know what this terminology means. That basically means that it was a negative equity.
Yep.
So
meaning the car's value was less than what you owed on it.
Exactly. And so from there, I just joined the car industry. And I was like, okay, I don't really have time because of work to go charge because the charging infrastructure is not what it was right now in 2026, back in 2019, 2020. Actually, at that point, it would have been 2022, 21. Still, 4 years made a big difference. And I was okay, I need a gas car. I work for a dealership. Hey, guys, can you help me get out of this car so I can, get to work on time? Just trying to genuinely ask for help. And my manager at the time, great guy, everyone was awesome. I love him to death. I kind of still talk to a lot of them, but they said, all right, let's just get you in this Challenger so you can basically lower your payment. Not really talking me through what my honest, like what I should have done, which was lease the car. Because what ended up happening was, yeah, I lowered my monthly obligation because, hey, Nick, guess how much my Tesla payment was on a monthly?
I think I know the answer, but it makes me want to throw up.
$1,100 a month. $1,100 a month. Now, granted, my initial idea for that car was it was getting rented out on like the weekends. So, and then the funny part, it would work. It worked, right? So by me lowering my monthly payment, which was fine, that's what I needed. However, what was the snowball getting bigger and bigger was my negative equity situation.
Especially in a
So
freaking Dodge.
yeah, I put it all on a Challenger. Not even an RT, just a GT because it looked cool and they could fit
You
enough
had that Hellcat
with not even with a
with
Pentastar,
6
still
cylinders.
V6. And so then that 8K turned into 10K. Then life happened, life changed. I was able to pay off a lot of it to kind of make what I really didn't know. I was just making the bill, making the bill, making the bill. I moved back to Chicago. I then decided, because rear wheel drive sucks in good old Chicago, to get into a used BMW 540i at my next dealership because it was 25K. It was 20,000 miles on it. And I was like, oh, I'm only 3K negative. I'll be fine. I can
It's a
just pay some of that in.
BMW, Alex.
Again, me in hindsight, it was in my hindsight, looking back at it, was it the most reliable engine that they've ever made in the recent years? Yes. And I saw a lot of reviews on it, and I knew that it was a good car. But what I didn't really think about was how quickly that car will depreciate for the amount of miles I actually was driving. Solely on emotion. I was like, great car, all-wheel drive, luxury. I love the car. But then after realizing how much I was driving from work and back, and then your social life, going to the movies, going on dates with my now wife, I was putting 20,000 miles a year on that car. That's what the average was. I had that car for maybe a year and a half. My negative equity then went back down. Well, I guess went back up from when I first switched over to negative 5K, which I was like, I'll pay it off. It's fine. We make enough money. Well, life happens, wedding, honeymoon, having a child. So I'm only making the minimum payments. The car is depreciating at a regular rate, but even more so because I'm driving so much more. At one point, I'm like, okay, let's see what this car is worth. $12,000 negative is what I was at in that car. It ran fine, but I was getting up in miles. And for those that don't know, BMWs are German luxury cars. They're not cheap when it comes to your annual maintenance. And I'm doing the 1 year maintenance twice a year.
How much was it?
Ended up being, I think, $3,000 in total for the 1 year, but with 2 years worth of maintenance in 1 year. So it was a lot.
That is why you don't buy a BMW.
Again, we look at hindsight and everything. Now, have a child. How do I get out of this car? I was fine with keeping the car forever and just, hey, work hard and pay it off. Just going through that vicious cycle. Then we get to my current car situation, which is the solution that should have happened a while ago that I ended up doing, I'm in now, which is I ended up leasing my current car, which is an Acura ZDX, mainly because there was 15 to 16,000 at the time when I leased it, $16,000 worth of incentive money and rebates. Where, okay, instead of me kicking this car down the road, paying it off in the full term of the loan, which would have been 6 years. Well, yeah, I own the car now. I have a piece of paper, but the car might not even run at that point. Versus fast forwarding all that to, yes, I have a higher payment because of it's a lease, but by the time my lease contract is over in 3 years, I'm clear and free. I can literally start fresh. Now, looking back at myself, I wish I would have done that way earlier, or at least the salesman, or at the time my boss, would have been like, hey, here's the smart decision to get you out of your situation. Not, yeah, let's sell you that Challenger because there's probably another unit that they need to get out for their monthly incentives and bonus. They were very nice people, but they didn't tell me after the fact that, hey, you probably should have just leased the car. So after I signed paperwork and all that stuff, and I worked for these people. That's the crazy part, which I need people to understand, which we're trying to relate to other people as well, is that us as car salesmen still have to get issues with, is it a smart decision financially to buy certain cars or to have bought a car?
Car salesmen get screwed by their dealerships more than the customers do. 100 times over 100.
100 times over. I'm one horror story that I guarantee if you go to any car salesman and ask them, what was the worst car decision you ever bought? I guarantee every single one of you has at least 1 or 2 times yeah, I'm flipped because I bought this sports car or this pickup truck because I want to be cool. I guarantee it. What about you, Nick? Because I know you've had way more cars than I have, but you were way more financially responsible than I was, but I know you still have some Ones that you kind of look back, you're like, nah, this was a bad decision financially.
So the beginning of my car buying experience was actually me flipping cars. So I actually didn't technically, I guess it was my money, but the dealership that was owned by my father and myself um, was the ones that owned the cars. So that's kind of how I started in the car business. I was detailing cars. We had a connection with two of the dealerships, and with the used car managers, we got a dealer's license. So we started buying the cars that came in for detail, because what they would do is they would bring the cars that weren't going to sell on the lot, basically. So older cars, they'd bring them to the detail shop. We'd clean them up, and then we'd actually take them right to the auction. Well, skipping that step, they don't have to pay auction fees, blah 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 blah. We would just buy the cars. So most of the cars that I started out with were exactly that. Um, then I started kind of getting into cars, and that was kind of my downfall, to be honest. So instead of driving around cars that I was intending to flip, I wanted to buy you know at the times the sports cars. So my the first car that I really owned for more than like 2 weeks was a Chevy Cobalt SS. It actually was bought back by Chevy. It's 2009, so it was the turbocharged engine. It was actually bought back by Chevy, and uh, for there was a recall on it for the keys. I don't know if any of you Cobalt SS owners remember that, but we got it for a pretty good price for the miles that it had.
How
Um,
many miles did it
but
have, Nick? Because you were obviously just a young teenager, just so excited for that Cobalt SS.
yeah, yeah, right. So it had 65,000 miles, but the thing was immaculate. It was absolutely immaculate. Um, and so I drove that thing for quite a while. Uh, and I only paid $9,000 for it. But the reason why I said it, I'm stating that it was a dumb decision, was because I decided to start modifying it, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing when it
I
came to
remember
modifying.
this car.
Yeah,
This thing was a Frankenstein car because anytime I would see it, something new was on it.
correct. Yes, yeah, yeah. I was, the carbon fiber hood, the wheels, the brakes, the air intake, you know, basically bolt-ons. I didn't do anything internal to the engine tuning. Um, I spent quite a pretty penny modifying it. Now,
Keyword modifying it.
yeah. So I don't know the exact amount of money that I spent on this particular car. But in addition to that car, I also bought three Neon SRT4s, and a uh, Mitsubishi Eclipse 1998, and that thing was the biggest POS on the planet. Not the car. The car itself was great. If it wasn't that particular car.
Was that the
Um,
one that had like the NOS tank in the trunk?
no, 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 no. Well, that was an Eclipse too, but that wasn't my car. That was my dad's car.
Okay.
Yeah, that the Ricer the Ricer Eclipse.
I like
But
your response. Not that Eclipse. As for those who are listening to the story, I think you're going to catch a trend here.
okay, so to put long story short, I've essentially had approximately 30 cars. Not including the ones I flipped. So that was ones that I had driven more than the qualifying thing that I had was I had to drive for more than 3 months. Now, a majority of the cars that I was flipping, I did make money on. Some of them I didn't. We were averaging like 10 cars a month at like $700 a copy. It was like nothing. Um, just because a lot of these cars needed a pretty, we were obviously able to kind of go through them a little bit, but some of them needed a little bit of work, and my dad kind of has a soft spot for cars and doesn't believe in wasting anything. So he would try to fix them, sometimes sketchily, if you ask me. But nonetheless, they did run, and they ran fine. But anyway, so the Cobalt was the first car that I really like kind of claimed as my own. And then once my dad decided to sell the dealership, I bought the car from the dealership, essentially, quote unquote. So I titled it under my name. Um, the stupid part that I would say is that I modified it. If I hadn't modified it, it wouldn't have been a dumb decision. But I modified it. So I put about 30,000 miles on the car, and I'll just be honest, I got bored of it and I sold it. Sold it for about $1,000 loss from what I purchased it from originally, but all the modifications I got nothing back for, which you don't.
And I always love that whenever people come in with the pickup trucks that were lifted, like Jeep Wranglers that have different rims and mud flat, all the crazy modifications people think actually add value to their car.
Funny enough, though, my understanding with Wranglers specifically is, and like Broncos, is that if it's done well and you get the right buyer, you can typically get a premium for it. But you have to find the person that's the right buyer for it. So if you've got 35s, mud tires, and all kinds of exterior modifications, your average Jeep Wrangler owner isn't going to want that. You have to find somebody relatively knows kind of what's on there. But for a lot of cars, it does either it's pretty much at value, or it actually diminishes the value of the car, because especially newer cars. Newer cars, if they're modified, you don't have a warranty. And most people don't want to deal with that, right? Especially if the work looks dodgy. If it looks professional, you might be able to sell it, but if the work looks dodgy, nobody wants to touch it.
I
And
mean, and
so,
that's a big thing too. Like obviously, there's BMWs, Porsches. Like yes, you can modify those things. Like M3s are sports cars, but you were modifying a Chevy Cobalt.
yeah, yeah. So after the Cobalt, which I also had a Dodge Ram 2500, which was a salvage title. That truck was awesome. I put 100,000 miles on that thing, and I lost $0. So I was driving those two for a while, and then the next car that I got when I started working at Subaru, of course, was a Subaru FTI. And you would think that I would have learned my lesson the first time with the Cobalt, but unfortunately, I was even stupider with that one. So basically, you know, great car. I bought it brand new. I was meticulous with that thing. Um, Basically did every bolt on you could do. The only thing I was restricted with was the fuel. So that was when I had it tuned. That was the only thing that was kind of holding me back. But it was making about 330 to the wheels, and I thought it was the coolest thing on planet Earth. And to be honest with you, looking back, I mean, it is a cool car, but I should have just left it alone. It had been worth it. So I probably spent $10,000 in aftermarket modifications. Bought the car for 36, ended up selling it for 27, and I drove it for 3 years. Only put 10,000 miles on. So 10,000 miles, I lost $17,000. Now, I did own the car. I did pay off the car fast, and that was the only car I had at the time. So I did pay off the car. So I didn't really pay interest on it, but I lost everything from the modifications, and I lost, due to, obviously just average depreciation. I lost close to $10,000 in just equity in the car. So $17,000 down the drain over 3 years doesn't sound too bad, but it could have been much better. It could have been much better. So, and maybe I did that math wrong, but um, so the next car after that, I actually tried to smarten up. So I actually left the dealership for about a year, and went to go work for a company that had a company car. So I only had that car. It was a Ford Edge. I paid nothing, no insurance. I did have to have insurance, like on my parents' 2001 Chevy Express. So it was like $20 a month. And I had a free car, and I was just driving that thing. And then I went back to the dealership, and the stupidity started again. So the first car I bought after I left 3M was a Subaru Outback 3.6R, just because I liked having an SUV. And then I also bought a WRX. So I had two cars, and that's when the two car thing started again, which I don't recommend. Um, so the WRX I actually left alone this time. And the Outback 3.6 I did, but I got bored of the WRX within 3 months, and obviously because I had an STI before, and I ended up trading that in and buying a Mustang.
Just
So
one of those guys just had to get a Mustang.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I did love that car though. I had that car. That's actually the car that I've owned the longest, out of any of my cars. So I owned that car for 4 years. Bought it in 20. It was a 2019, and I ended up selling it, and I bought it in 2019 as well. I didn't buy it brand new. It was like a manufacturer demo, I guess. So it had some mileage, but I actually ended up doing pretty well on that car because of COVID. So during COVID, the prices of Mustangs just shot up for God knows what reason. But I ended up actually making money on that car. Um, if you take the initial value of the car and what I ended up selling it for, even if you include taxes, I ended up basically making money. I call it breaking even because you had gas, maintenance, etc., etc.
Right.
Oh,
The actual cost of ownership of the car.
totally not a regular experience. I did modify that one slightly. I put well, I guess you can say modify. I wouldn't really call it modified, but I put a catback exhaust on it. And and then I did like window tint and stuff, but I didn't want to go too crazy with that car just because it did have a warranty, and I didn't want to void the warranty just in case. But anyway, so had the Mustang, um, and then I traded in the 16 Outback for a 2021, or I'm sorry, 2020 Outback. So now I had another Outback. And this is where it kind of spirals. Now I'm trading in cars like every 6 months. So I had the Outback. I got bored of the Outback. And then I ended up trading that in, and I got a Raptor. So 2014 Raptor 6.2. It had a supercharger on it. And to be honest with you, it was just I was thinking with the wrong head. Let's just put it that way. I saw it,
You did
and
no construction at all. You're just like Raptor one day. You just showed up with the Raptor one day.
so stupid. It's just that was a dumb decision. And I knew I was making a stupid decision. Um, so had the Raptor 6 months, and this was when gas prices were like $7 a gallon. Not really. It was like $5 a gallon.
It was like close to
But that
five, I think. That was the
that thing
worst
got
by us.
that thing got 8 miles per gallon on premium, and the fuel cost was just killing me. My Mustang GT, get this, my Mustang GT was my fuel economy car. I mean, it
Oh,
got
so
pretty good gas
that's
mileage.
why you had two cars. One was better on fuel economy.
Stupidity. But anyway, so I got rid of the Raptor, and this is actually when I left the dealership, um, and left the car industry. So I traded in the Raptor and got a Subaru Legacy. Because I was going into the field I'm in now, which is medical device sales or medical sales. Um, and I needed a vehicle. I couldn't do the Raptor because I put 30,000 miles a year on the car. It just wouldn't make financial sense. So had the Legacy, and honestly, that was my favorite car. I owned it outright. I paid cash for it. No payments. I put 70,000 miles on that car. And then traded. This is again where stupidity starts to come back in. Traded that in and bought a Subaru Ascent, which is a great car, but definitely wasn't necessary for me to have an Ascent. I bought it because for this new job I had, I thought I was going to have more room because we have this one device that's um, it's about 5 feet tall and about 3 feet wide. So I kind of figured I would need it. In hindsight, I could have just borrowed a car and just kept the legacy. But anyway, so I had the Ascent, and Alex actually worked at Acura and sort of kind of convinced me into probably one of the best financial decisions I've ever made, which is my ZDX.
That's right.
So
We both drive ZDXs.
yes, yes. So um, yeah, and we'll get into why I say it's my best financial decision in a different episode, but I obviously have to charger at home, so that's kind of the one of the huge qualifications of why it's such a good financial decision. What I will say is I did lease it, and while in Alex's particular situation, it was a good financial decision. For me, I still just can't I can't like agree that it was a good decision for me. I probably should have purchased that car instead. But we'll get into the reasons why and things of that nature. I'm not completely anti-leasing, but for me, I just think it would have. I just think it would have made more sense. The only reason why I chose the lease was because the money factor, which I'm going to just explain what money factor is real quick. The money factor was if you have to basically that random number, if you multiply it by 2400, you get your interest rate, or what's the equivalent of an interest rate, was 1.9. So that's honestly the only reason why I decided to do it. Um, and of course, I have my most of my cash is in the market. I have it kind of split between different investment accounts, but my average, even in a CD, I was getting more than 1.9%. So for me, I think it was a sound financial decision, but I'm going to be way over on miles. I'm already at 20,000 miles, and I'm what?
A year?
No, it's not been a year. I'm about 8 months in. So
Anyway, that's
yeah,
wow. Okay.
but I'm most likely going to buy the car out after the lease.
And that's the thing too, where kind of you brought up, like leasing maybe for you at this moment doesn't make sense, and for me, obviously it does. But that's something that when you decide to make the decision now, looking at all your decisions in hindsight, it made sense to make that decision, especially with the math that came out of it and the affordability factor that came with it of it fit your lifestyle. And you had that conversation with yourself and me about it. Even with me, with my when I had to make my ZX purchase, it was the financial affordability of it. And not just, oh, the monthly payments, X amount every month. No, it's what is gas, what is insurance, what is maintenance. All these different things is why we come together to make this channel that we are at with the car buying guys. Is the fact that not everyone has the full picture hindsight to look at, does it make sense to buy this car? And also, like how you had mentioned that you bought an Ascent, but which for those that don't know, a Subaru Ascent is a 3-row car. It's a 3-row SUV. You don't have kids. So yes, it made sense for like the one thing that maybe if you're using it for work, you could use it extra cargo space, but that's a one-time thing. It's like saying, oh yeah, I need to buy a, this is when I used to work for Volvo. Oh yeah, I want an XC90. 3 rows, huge, full size SUV, beautiful car. It is a beautiful car. I'm not saying it's not, but we're talking about someone that is, single, lives in like, because we live in the Chicago area, lives in like Chicago,
Yeah,
and you're
and
parking in parking garages. Like, no,
that
that
is
makes
why this
zero
channel,
sense.
that is exactly why this channel was created, because we see people buying cars that don't fit their lifestyle. And that's almost as important as the financial part of it. Because if it doesn't fit your lifestyle, you're going to not want that car sooner than somebody that buys a car that fits their lifestyle. And in my case, that was exactly what happened. Um, so that's exactly why this channel is created. Because if you're, somebody that, let's just say is single, you don't need a Tahoe. I'm sorry, you don't. You don't need a Tahoe. And you could say, "Oh, I tow," and or whatever. Um, but most people don't tow, or they say they're going to tow and they never do. I said it, to be honest.
Here,
I mean,
as someone that lived in Texas for literally about 2 years, the amount of people that I knew, and this is when I worked for Ram, so I sold a lot of Ram trucks. None of them towed. Maybe less than 10% of the trucks I sold, people actually were towing, and they actually asked, "Hey, what's the towing capacity of this truck?" When I was trying to sell it to them, I used to tell people you can tow, 8,000 pounds, 10,000, 12, like whatever it was the car was rated for. They didn't care.
they didn't care at all. I saw it too at Subaru. I had people that, you know, put hitches, myself included. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I didn't do this too. I put hitches on 2 of my cars. And I had the 2 trucks too. I've only towed with 1 vehicle, and that was my Ram 2500. Not, it was a gasper, by the way. That's the only
It
one
doesn't
I
make
ever towed.
sense.
And I told my dad's or parents 26-foot Sea Ray with that thing, and that thing was awesome. But yeah, that's the only vehicle I ever towed with.
What this channel is being a helpful tool and resource for those that are, hey, I want to buy my next car. And I know we've talked about it before with some people, like close friends of ours. They're like, yeah, I think I want to trade in my car. It's around that time. I just want something newer. But they didn't know what they wanted to afford. They didn't even know what they wanted, but they liked their car. And so it came to a simple conversation of, well, what's wrong with your car?
And most of the
And
time, it's nothing,
a lot of
or
times it's
very, very
one
little stuff.
quick fix.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Like
yes,
my neighbor actually right now, he has a 2011 Nissan Murano CVT. Blech.
ooh,
But the thing has 55,000 miles, and he's like, I want to trade it in. I want to get a newer car. I'm like, dude, you're driving a cream puff. Are you kidding me? I'm like, okay, it's a Nissan, but
it's still a Nissan, so I don't know. It's
you
more like a
know, but
Twinkie.
but 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 the car is rock solid, and he maintains it very, very meticulously. Now that's going to do nothing for the CVT, and I've told him that. I told him that exact same thing. Dummy actually went and looked at a newer Murano, if you can believe it. What we want to do ideally is bring in people that are looking to potentially purchase a vehicle, are kind of looking around in the in the looking phases. Not somebody that's visited dealerships already, or maybe we can talk to people that visited dealerships too, just to get their experience. But we want to help you kind of identify, okay, this is maybe the type of vehicle you should be looking at. We'll go over the financials. We'll go over the financials, go over how it's going to fit your lifestyle, how many miles you're going to drive, et cetera, et cetera.
There's going to be a link in the description. So if this is something where, hey, I could really use some hindsight of what my next car purchase would be, it's going to be a form you fill in. All the questions that Nick's talking about, you can fill in on your own time. And the best part of all this, which is why we're doing this on this channel and why we're really trying to help so many people out and get the word out, we're doing this for free. We're not We're not paid by dealerships. We're not paid by the consumer. We're not asked for any money. We're literally doing this for free. Get the word out there because so many people we've seen suffer from this, especially people that we know. And it's as simple as just filling out one of our forms and let's have a conversation about it. My name is Alex,
And I'm Nick.
and we're the Car Buying Guys. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.